Welcome to Nameless Debate Radio, where radioactivity is contagious. You can join us in broadening our minds on the Nameless Debates Discord via the link below, and even feature here yourself, if you've got what it takes.
Because it leads to the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer.
Why is that?
Because the rich are taxed just as much as the poor are.
Well, no, it's a percentage. That's not true.
Wait a second. Did you say the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer?
Yeah, I did. Your
Capitalist within me triggers re.
Okay.
Your understanding of economics in America is charming.
Yeah, well,
He's Canadian. We don't have to.
Well,
his mistakes are not our mistakes. He's Canadian.
That's
Canadians have the best economic system. If we were to just implement the Canadian economic system in our economic system, all our problems would be solved.
If we were to just take a socialist system and just install it in America like it's Windows OS.
Listen, Canada is not fully socialist. It's in between socialist and capitalist.
You're right. You're right. We should take a little bit of poison every day instead of a huge dose.
Exactly.
Even though socialist policies aren't poison, but whatever.
That's not
socialist policies aren't poison.
But the point I'm trying to make here is that Canadian.
Am I coming to the real revelation?
My point is. My point is
Cindy, you're getting red
that Canadian policies are not socialist. They're more of like a hybrid between capitalist and socialism.
You mean like social democracy?
Capitalism?
Yes, exactly.
Only a drop of poison every day.
Okay.
Or if the poison benefits you, you put enough of that poison until
the poison benefits you?
No, the poison is actually steroids, so.
Yeah, so you take enough steroids until it starts to really hurt. It's sort of like drugs. Drugs really do. Drugs do help you, but if you take way too much, then eventually they're going to hurt.
They're precious, aren't
guys. Listen, if you were to tip the capitalistic cow within America, do you realize?
Sorry,
it's
the way
a cow
you said
because
that.
it must be fed, and specifically grass-fed, from a very specific source.
No, corn-fed, Indiana.
That's true. Corn-fed cows.
Who's your corn-fed cows, dude?
Anyways, if you were to tip the economic system within America, do you realize what would be the result of that?
A good economic system?
There would be no reason for China to feel threatened by us.
Even though China...
You do realize that North America is feared because of, America.
Yeah, and you realize that China doesn't want to go to war with the United States because the United States owes them $21 trillion.
Exactly what kind of war they would like to go into if they had the opportunity to, though. Huh?
No, because the moment that America starts doing poor,
wait a second, where do all of the microchips come from?
China,
right? Yeah.
Okay, wow. But you realize that the United
States... There's a market there.
Okay, but you realize...
It's almost like there's a...
Benny, shut up. You realize that right now America owes China $21 trillion. That gives China... And it's the fact that the United States...
That's why they have to make sure that we do good. Because if they don't, they're not getting their money back.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? There's an incentive to treat us with some dignity.
Yeah, because it benefits China.
That's
why are we whispering?
Fine. Yeah, we're not whispering. The problem is, you just want to say, let's be done with it. Just switch out the economic systems within America for Canada's
even though I'm not
democratic
saying
socialism.
But you realize that there's a huge movement for democratic socialism across America right now.
Huh?
Like Texas nearly became a democratic state.
When? Where?
The majority is always right.
That's
okay.
Very true. A bunch of people.
Sorry, one sec, Benny. Crambo, aren't you the person who always toads on about the tyranny of the majority?
Yeah,
That's
I'm making fun of
ironically
your
what he
position.
was referencing. That's ironically what he was referencing.
I'm making fun of your position.
He's
Okay,
making, yeah,
but here's-
he's mocking you.
Okay, but here's the thing. If there wasn't a huge push for things like social democracy, then why would Texas, one of the most like Republican states in all of the United States,
Huge
almost
push
like,
does not equal right.
really?
Yes, really.
So when people are pushing for change in order to fix issues that they see within the economy, that isn't right.
Not necessarily.
Hey, let me ask you something. If you saw a baby penguin getting attacked by a seagull, yeah, do you think that fucking with the ecosystem is a good idea because you feel bad because the baby penguin's going to be devoured?
Well, I mean, I'm a nihilist, so I don't have any morals.
I don't care about your philosophical outlook. I could give a shit less than your philosophical. You could be a fucking solipsist for all I give a shit. What I'm trying to get across to you is that you're trying to fuck with an ecosystem that's dwelt. No, hold on 1 second. You're trying to fuck with the balances of an ecosystem that has existed long before you has existed for quite a while now. I mean, what would you say, Grabo? Like 100 years? A little bit more than that? A little bit less?
Okay. But Venny, that analogy falls apart immediately when you realize that it's not just one penguin. If the majority of the penguin population is at risk because of this, then obviously you want to go into do.
So you think that the ecosystem and fucking with it is going to benefit the entire ecosystem altogether, or is it Darwin's way of weeding out the weak?
It's going to benefit the ecosystem because that makes sure that the penguins are still prospering. Like, there's a reason why.
Vinny, you said you had a huge revelation in your political ideology, and I have to say I approve of the new red-pilled Vinny.
Rennie went from being red-pilled to being blue-pilled because he became
mega red-pilled
nationalist.
He used to be like an ethno-nationalist. Now he's
red-pilled.
I think I was a light ethno-nationalist to begin with. I'm okay with like more civil liberties being elected to the people, but I have a problem when the people try to recall things without information. If you should go to in my opinion, if you want to go to a voting booth and you want to vote on an issue, you should at least read an article on the issue first. If you can't read it, then you probably shouldn't be here.
How does this have anything to do with ethno-nationalism?
That's not what I'm referencing.
Okay, my bad.
No, you're okay.
So what are you referencing, might I ask?
That people need to be educated on the issues and not given the political rhetoric or the political libel that most bureaucrats like to seem to provide us with in America. Just because you want a new tax to be enacted for a road to be rebuilt, you need to know what the time frame of that's going to be. When the projected, basically, like essentially what you would say to a person if you're like, I'm going to develop a game. Would you be interested in crowdfunding? Well, yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. You know, if you're going to be the government and say, the state is going to try and enact a tax, government goes in and then provides a translation, says, hey, listen, this is what this tax is going to cost over time. This is how this is going to impact you, basically. Instead of being given such gray lines on what exactly is going to happen. What judges and what senators, state senators are going to do and what they vote for typically, a voting history. Yeah, that's
your representatives' asses because you can't trust them.
You can't. You certainly can't. But I would love to see a history or projected kind of an analytical history, like a tool developed by a couple people, maybe a couple witty Canadians. Maybe you guys can get on that. Hint, hint. Make a little bit of profit in dirty capitalist America. Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. You know what I mean?
Well, what I would say about Canada is they do have a better gun control system.
Disgusting.
Exactly what is the gun
control?
Well,
actually, Canada's gun crime rate, when adjusted per capita, is lower than America's by...
That has nothing to do with gun control.
Yes, it does, because gun control is higher in Canada.
Did you prove that causal link?
Well, actually, it is a bit higher.
Yes, I did.
Do it. Do it right now.
All right, so when you have
Gotcha.
gun control,
Thanks.
where you have to wait for a year to get your gun, all right, people are gonna be impatient, and when you have a mental health check, just because you're depressed doesn't mean you don't get a gun, or just because you have a mental health illness doesn't mean you get a gun. It's just a matter of whether you can handle having it or not.
A mental health check?
What did he say around the
Are
mental?
you aware that psychology is a soft science?
That is the truth, I'm afraid.
So if somebody that has no pre-existing conditions prior to the mental health check starts manifesting, say in their 20s, what do you do then? Give everybody that's over the age of 20?
No. In Canada, this is how it works. They don't.
So you essentially have a check for something that's a soft science, though. No.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in Canada, how it works is they check it to see if you have any mental illnesses, all right? And then they rule out if you're worthy to have a gun or not. And
oh boy,
that's what we call a constitutional right, my friend.
You see, you're not born with the right to have a gun.
Wrong.
Right.
Wrong.
Oh my gosh. You don't think a person that's born has rights, or just doesn't have a right to have a gun?
When you're born, you don't have a right to own a gun.
Okay, so you're only born with certain rights, but
yes,
not all
you're only
rights.
born with certain rights.
Because
you're not gonna have a baby holding an AK-47 going like, "Ha, time to shoot up the preschool."
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
That reminds me of the baby penguins dying. You see, if Darwin elects to have those penguins die, if a preschooler shows up to school with an AK-47, why not? Just let them have at it. You know,
kids used to take their guns to school all the time. They had shooting clubs. It was great.
That's a good idea.
They had rifle teams in high school. They had rifle teams at high schools, dude. We should bring that back.
Not with the modern culture, we shouldn't. Not with our mental health problem, we shouldn't.
And not with the fact that 66% of Americans want gun control.
Hold on 1 second. You guys, no. Hold on 1 second. Crimble, let's teach our kids to have a healthy respect for firearms. That way they never mishandle it.
That sounds like a good idea.
And you can do that without having them actually handle a gun.
Yeah.
So Benny, I just put together my
actually having them touch a gun.
Talking about gun rates, because I've been finally assembling my AR all this time, and I've just got it together, and man, is it pretty.
Oh, take a picture, send it over. I can't wait to see
it. I will.
It's great. Yeah, take it to school.
No, he wouldn't do that. He's not an irresponsible citizen. He respects guns and guns rights. He was trained that way from so. But he was born with that right.
I wasn't around firearms at all when I was a kid. I just happened to be a responsible citizen.
All right. So, Cram, what happens when you have a depressive episode?
Well, you know what? I think that psychological test, that if it catches it at the right time, oh wait, he already owns a gun. It's too late.
I have something for that. It's called Stoic philosophy, mate.
Actually, no, Venny. What you're not getting is when Canada sees that someone has a depressive episode or some sort of mental illness pops up, they take their gun away.
Wait, Canada just has an all-seeing eye floating overhead that sees it?
Benny, I'm going to take a picture of something I got for Christmas with my AR.
Well, I mean, that's kind of how airport security works.
Benny, I have a question for you. Since when did you change your legal name to George Orwell?
Say what, George Orwell?
When did Canada become George Orwell? That's what I want to know.
When did I change my legal name to George Orwell?
Well, yeah, you're talking about this all-seeing eye within the country.
This all-seeing eye. Yeah, I think I was asking satirically if what checks are in place to make sure that any citizen depressive episode needs to have their gun rights relinquished. Are you saying
and then if they're proven worthy of a gun again
by a test, if there's a test you can
no, if they can prove themselves that they're worthy to have their gun back, they get their gun back. But then if they have another one, they take it back again.
Wow, that's a really effective. Sounds like a really effective test.
It's not. It doesn't work all the time, but it works.
How much of the time, percentage-wise?
It probably works about half the time. It's better than 0%. And he's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that works. So, what are your guys' thoughts on nihilism?
Don't really care. I mean, like, depends on what you're nihilistic on. Like, what's your opinion on rape?
Basically, I think that life is meaningless, and the rules that we have in place in society are meaningless because they were just created by other people.
Sorry, but that's not answering my question.
What was your question?
Rape. As a nihilist, what's your opinion on it?
It kind of relieves me from daily stress. Like, because
you are going down a very bad road right now. I'm warning you.
No. You see, because I have anxiety, and when I make a mistake, I just remember, oh, life is meaningless. I'll just continue on with my activity. Do you see where I'm going with this?
I'm moving back to our original topic.
Alright.
But yeah. So, Cramboat. We were talking about, like, government subsidies. Correct? Earlier? I think he left.
No, he's just busy playing with his toy.
Oh, would you like to continue the conversation about government subsidies that we got distracted from?
All right. Can you prove your claim that government subsidies?
Sorry, cut out. That government subsidies are.
Yeah, prove that they're beneficial. Categorically.
Simple. They stimulate the economy.
Okay. Can you prove that?
Yes, I can, because if an economy is doing very poorly, then having a third entity pump money into that industry, that will help people break into the industry, and that will also help the industry grow because it has more income going to.
But what if the industry is failing because they're not offering products people want, so the government giving them money is a false incentive?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
What if the industry is failing because they're not listening to their consumers, or they're offering a product that people don't really want, so the government pumping money into the industry is a false incentive?
Well, then, that wouldn't work.
Exactly. Government subsidies are not categorically good.
You see, but it's all about context. Subsidies are all about.
Well, he said government subsidies are good. Period.
Well, I'm sure that's not what
true.
he meant. I'm sure he
What
just
said.
left out.
What I
What he
said was
said,
that.
and it's not true. If you'd like to revise his position, he can.
No, it's completely true.
Okay.
Oh,
But here's the thing. If that industry is doing poor because of poor decisions being made by the people who are in that industry, then making it so people have an extra incentive to go into the industry would actually help prop up the industry by having people actually know what they're doing.
Money doesn't just collect in an industry. It has to be paid to specific. Money is given to specific companies, not to an industry as a whole.
And if government funding goes towards people who want to create opportunities within that industry,
no, the government money goes to established corporations.
and if you wanted to use government money in order to fund people so that they could go into that industry and have success within an industry in order to
what happens if they fail?
Then I would say that is a failure of the person themselves making poor economic decisions.
Oh, I would agree, but the government is encouraging people to go into this industry and therefore fail.
And what reason would the government have what reason would the government have for trying to get people to go into that industry?
It doesn't really matter.
It 100% matters.
The reason doesn't matter. The consequences are the same.
Okay, and the consequences are always avoidable.
No, not all consequences are avoidable. That speaks to, I think, a larger defect within your character.
All consequences are avoidable.
Yes, consequences are avoidable.
Yeah,
not all consequences.
Be avoidable.
Yes, all consequences.
All consequences
I think that says
avoidable. Okay, Crambo.
And if you're thinking about death is not a consequence rather than a some sort of freedom.
No, but I don't even know what to say to you guys.
Okay.
God may not exist.
Crambo, you are not listening.
Spiritualism may not exist, but
all consequences are avoidable. That's a hot
take, is a
man.
freedom, not a consequence.
Okay, 1 sec. Okay, Crambot. I'm going to say this again. All consequences are avoidable, but that doesn't mean that they will be avoidable. Sorry. So all consequences are avoidable. You can avoid all of the consequences, but that doesn't mean that they will be avoidable. Do you see the distinction?
No, I don't think that all consequences are avoidable.
Okay, name a consequence of government subsidies that you don't think is avoidable.
No, I'm talking in general. I don't think all consequences are avoidable.
All right, so let's say you steal a cookie. All right, you take one cookie out. That's all. All right, one cookie out of the cookie jar. It doesn't look like you took any cookies out. All right, you just avoided the consequence. All right, let's say you killed someone. You dispose of the body. You throw it into the ocean, and it's not found until after you die. Consequence avoided.
No.
Yes.
Well, actually, yes. It that is very much plausible.
You're avoiding a legal consequence, not avoiding other consequences.
Well, let's say you go to the park and you punch someone in the face. Everyone sees.
You using crimes?
You run away.
Why are you using crimes? I'm talking.
Why don't you put forward an example, Cramboat? Why don't you?
Yeah, why don't you put forward an example?
Okay. You put water on an object. That object is wet. That consequence is...
Sorry.
Okay, now is that object permanently wet?
That's not what I said.
No, it's not what you said. I'm asking you whether or not...
It's irrelevant.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
I kind of agree with Cram here. That was kind of irrelevant.
Well, no, because if you then dry out the object so it's no longer wet, then that consequence of it being wet is avoided.
No, it was still wet at the time. That's irrelevant.
Well, you could put plastic wrap on the object.
Then the plastic wrap would be wet.
Put plastic wrap on the plastic wrap.
That plastic wrap would be wet.
Alright, put a waterproof plastic wrap.
The waterproof plastic will be wet.
The waterproof plastic wrap would be wet.
Yeah, waterproof means it doesn't let water through. There's still water on the surface. It's still wet.
Okay, what if you put a giant heater all around the object?
It can still be wet.
Okay, so so you're telling
like
me
you don't understand.
Okay,
some things are unavoidable consequences. Like if you do, why will happen? Like
it's so fun. So if I put a giant like heat bubble around the thing, then that means it's gonna be wet, even if the water is evaporating before it can even get on the object.
Then the heated air will be wet. You can't avoid it. There are some things that you cannot avoid.
I don't think you know what wet means.
Having water touch it.
Water doesn't touch the air; it goes through the air.
Water doesn't touch the air. Adderite 2K18.
No.
There's no such thing.
Water doesn't touch
water
the air.
Goes, no.
Yeah, because
you see,
touch air.
The water particles, all right, they merge through the air particles, all right?
Water doesn't touch the air.
No, it doesn't touch the air because
I don't know what to say to you.
Air is not touchable.
Nothing can touch air.
No, nothing can touch air because that's not how air works.
Yeah.
Hold up.
As a matter of fact, you can never touch anything. There always has to be space between atoms.
You're still able to touch things. But the thing is, when it comes to something like air, there is no touching of air. Like that's not how the element of air works.
It always moves out of the way.
Yeah, so you cannot touch something like air.
That is dumb.
No, it is not.
Okay. Give us another example then, Cramboat.
No, I think... No. What? Air. What?
We have this... Oh my god.
Oh,
I think you've only proven your ignorance to me.
No, we haven't. You've proven your ignorance to us.
We have told you that air is not touchable.
Here, what's
Like the air is not going to be wet. Coupled with the fact that if the water isn't existent, then if something doesn't exist because it's evaporated, ergo disappeared, then the water isn't touching the air. Because evaporation means that the water no longer exists. So there is no water to touch the air. Because
I don't even know what to say to you right now, dude. Like,
oh, sorry.
Like if your goal was to just say something so absurd that it just threw me off, and I just can't discuss more, you succeeded.
Okay, well, my bad that my understanding of the periodic table of elements is better than yours.
Look in the chat. Look in Tavern Text chat, dude. I don't. Dude, I don't know what to say to you at this point. I don't know.
Okay, well, I had a Lamau. I have no interest in engaging in such nonsense. But there is no disproving of it.
You know, we should move down, and you should ask Julius about that.
Okay, well, my bad that your understanding of the periodic table of elements
No,
is
I
horrible.
want you to explain this to Julius and Stacy. Can we do that?
Sure.
You cut out.
Can we explain this to the guys in the other chat?
You know what? Sure. Let's go down.
All right, let's
as
do
soon
it.
as we do that, because I'm absolutely done with this conversation. Once we do that, I'm going to go because there's obviously no moving yourself from your laissez-faire capitalistic world. So let's do
Okay.
this.
Well, we'll
Oh boy. Well, folks, that pretty much does it.
Thank you for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and join us in the Nameless Debates Discord. We hope to see you there.